Right now, Iran and the United States are standing at one of the most sensitive moments in their modern relationship. Tensions are high, diplomacy is fragile, and the world is watching closely. This is not just another political disagreement. What happens between Iran and America could affect global security, energy markets, regional stability, and millions of lives far beyond the Middle East. In recent months, headlines have been filled with warnings, sanctions, negotiations, and military signals. On one side, the United States says it wants to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons and destabilizing the region. On the other side, Iran says it wants security, economic relief, and respect for its sovereignty. Between these two positions lies a long history of mistrust, broken agreements, and unresolved conflicts. To understand the current situation, we must first understand where it all began. Relations between Iran and the United States collapsed after the 1979 Iranian Revolution. Before that, Iran was a close ally of Washington. After the revolution, the new Iranian leadership adopted an anti-American stance, and diplomatic ties were cut. Since then, both countries have viewed each other as strategic threats. Over the decades, this rivalry expanded into many areas. Iran developed influence across the Middle East, supporting groups and allies in countries like Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen. The United States, meanwhile, strengthened its alliances with Israel and Gulf states, increasing its military presence in the region. This created a constant balance of pressure, deterrence, and indirect confrontation. One of the most critical issues has always been Iran's nuclear program. Iran insists that its nuclear activities are peaceful and meant for energy and research. The United States and its allies fear that Iran could eventually develop nuclear weapons. These concerns led to years of negotiations and, in 2015, the signing of the nuclear agreement known as the JCPOA. Under that deal, Iran limited its nuclear activities in exchange for sanctions relief. For a brief period, tensions eased, but in 2018, the United States withdrew from the agreement and reimposed heavy sanctions on Iran. This decision reshaped the relationship once again, bringing both countries back into a cycle of pressure and retaliation. Since then, Iran has gradually reduced its commitments under the nuclear deal, while the United States has expanded economic sanctions. These sanctions severely affected Iran's economy, causing inflation, currency devaluation, and hardship for ordinary citizens. Fast forward to the current situation. In early 2026, indirect talks between Iran and the United States resumed, with Oman acting as a mediator. These talks were seen as a cautious step toward reducing tensions. However, they did not produce a breakthrough. No final agreement was reached, and major disagreements remain unresolved. The United States has made its position clear. It wants strict limits on Iran's nuclear program, guarantees of compliance, and discussions about Iran's missile capabilities and regional activities. Washington has also warned that failure to reach a deal could lead to severe consequences, including tighter sanctions and increased pressure. At the same time, the U.S. government has issued travel warnings, increased military readiness in the region, and signaled that all options remain on the table. These actions are meant to strengthen America's negotiating position, but they also raise fears of escalation. Iran's response has been firm but calculated. Iranian officials have said they are open to diplomacy, but only if it is based on mutual respect and the lifting of sanctions. Iran argues that sanctions are economic warfare and that it cannot accept negotiations under constant pressure. Iran has also emphasized its right to self-defense. While Tehran says it does not seek war, it has warned that it will respond strongly to any attack. This dual approach, diplomacy combined with deterrence, reflects Iran's current strategic reality. One major factor influencing Iran's decisions is internal pressure. Iran is facing serious domestic challenges. Years of sanctions have weakened the economy. Inflation remains high, unemployment is a concern, and public frustration has grown. In recent months, protests have taken place in several cities, driven by economic hardship and political dissatisfaction. The most dangerous scenario is escalation. A military confrontation, whether intentional or accidental, would have severe consequences. It could draw in regional actors, disrupt global markets, and cause widespread instability. At the moment, both Iran and the United States appear to be trying to avoid escalation. Signals from both sides suggest a preference for managing tensions rather than triggering open conflict. However, the margin for error is extremely small. This moment matters because Iran and the United States are not just negotiating policies. They are navigating decades of mistrust, strategic competition, and regional complexity. Every statement, every move, and every decision carries immense weight. We will continue to monitor developments closely and bring you updates on diplomacy, risks, and the future of the Middle East. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Global Lens for more in-depth news, analysis, and global updates.